Hey everyone, today we're going to look at weather maps, and specifically we're going to look at these blue lines here and these red lines. These are called weather fronts. We're going to learn about what they are, what kind of weather they produce, and how to use them to predict the weather in our area. So we're looking at fronts today. So as I go through this, guys, make sure that you use your notes. You'll be filling in your notes as we go. You should have your note sheet, and this lecture should fit up perfectly with those notes. So let's get started. Okay, so first and foremost, what is a front? So what is a weather front? It is basically an interaction between cold air and warm air, or two different types of air. So it is a boundary between two air masses that have different properties, and at this interaction we get stormy weather, usually stormy weather. So you can see here you have cold air on the left, warm air on the right, and when they come together you get storms, you get some weather going on here, and you can see cloud formation, some rain, some lightning. So fronts is when you get two different types of air coming together and giving you some weather. So fill in your notes right now. Okay, so the first front that we're going to look at is called a cold front. And so in your note sheet, you guys have the symbol box up at the top. I want you guys to draw this symbol exactly like you see it here. A cold front, everyone, is blue, and it has the triangles all pointed in one direction. You also need to make sure that you write down cold on this side, so cold air is behind the triangles, and the warm air is in front of the triangles. So you need to have these written down, as well as this black arrow here. This black arrow is showing us the direction that the front is moving. So this blue triangle cold front is moving this direction, so it's going up here at the top, and then this actual front would move down in this direction towards the warm air. So as we fill in our notes, so in a cold front, what is happening? So in a cold front, it forms when you get cold air that meets and pushes under warm air. So if you look at the picture that I have here, if this represents the Earth, this represents the atmosphere, you have cold air here, and it's pushing in this direction. You have warm air in front of the cold air, and the cold air pushes underneath because it's more dense, and it causes that warm air to move up because that's less dense. And as it goes upward, right, if there's any moisture in there, it's going to condense, form a cloud, and give us some moisture. So that's what happens. Cold air goes underneath warm air, causes the warm air to rise, form clouds, and eventually cause some precipitation. So what kind of weather are we going to get at this type of front? You're going to get violent storms usually. The reason why they're violent is because the cold air rushes in underneath the warm air and causes the warm air to rise rapidly, and that will cause rapid cloud formation and usually some violent storms. And after this front passes, so again, it's moving in this direction. So if there's a town back here, after the cold front has passed, it's usually going to be pretty fair, nice, cool weather afterwards. Okay, so this is a cold front. Make sure you guys have your notes filled in. I'm going to actually show you guys a quick little demo here. So this represents a cold front. So let's watch and see what happens. So you can see here the cold air is advancing, the warm air is in front. As the cold air advances, the warm air rises, goes up. You can see cloud formation, and you can see moisture, precipitation, and usually some storms. Okay, so that's a cold front. Okay, next one on our notes is the warm front. So warm front, here's the symbol. Again, same thing. Make sure you guys get the red half circles. Warm air is behind the warm front, cold air is in front. Again, the arrow showing the direction of the movement. So this warm front will be moving upward towards the cold air. So at a warm front, what do you get? You get warm air overtaking a mass of cold air and moves over it. And the reason why we say it moves over is because, again, you know that warm air is less dense. It's less dense than cold air. So when it interacts with that cold air, it's going to ride up over top of it, and it will actually go on top of the cold air, and again, if there's any moisture in that warm air, it's going to form clouds, it's going to condense, and you'll get some rain. So that's what happens. Warm air overtakes cold air and goes over top. And the weather that we're going to get at this type of front will be rainy and followed by some warm air, and you usually get hot, humid weather that follows. So if there's a town right here, if you're looking at this point right here, okay, after the warm front has passed in this direction, it's moving from left to right, this town is going to be hot and humid after it's gotten some rain and some showers. So make sure your notes look just like this. Again, you got your symbol, you have what's happening, and typical weather. So warm air overtaking cold air, going above it. Let's look at a quick diagram. Okay, so here's a warm front. Again, you can see warm air is overtaking the cold air. As it hits that cold air, it starts to rise. It's got some moisture in it, so it forms clouds. You get rain. You get the idea here. So here's a warm front. Okay, next one is called an occluded front. So in an occluded front, make sure your symbol looks like this. It's kind of a weird triangle and half circle. So you have a half circle and then a triangle and then a half circle and then a triangle. These are kind of interesting fronts where there's a weird mix of warm and cool air. So what happens in an occluded front? So basically it forms when a cold front overtakes a warm front. So again, in a warm front, you usually have warm air on top of cold air. Well, this is when another cold front comes from behind and overtakes that warm front, and you get a weird mix of air here. So make sure your symbol looks like this. Cold front overtakes a warm front. The typical weather near it is going to be less extreme weather than a cold or warm front. So you might get some rain, but it's not going to be violent. It's going to be pretty mild, really. Make sure you guys know this symbol, the half circle, triangle, half circle, triangle. Okay, last one we're going to look at is called a stationary front. So a stationary front, again, here's your symbol. So stationary means that it's not moving, so we don't really have any moving air here. But you got cold air on one side, you got warm air on the other. Now notice that you have triangles going one direction, and then on the opposite direction you do have those red circles. So make sure that your symbol looks exactly like this. This is called a stationary front. Stationary, it's not moving. So in a stationary front, warm air meets cold air, and no movement occurs. So guys, this word should be cold here. I know that D got cut off a little bit, but so occurs when warm air meets cold air and no movement occurs. So this cold air is here, moving in here. This warm air is moving, and they get stuck. And when you get stuck like that, again, what the typical weather that you see is you're going to get rain and rain and rain and rain. So it's just going to be pretty much rainy and wet for a long time because nothing's happening. They're just sort of stuck to each other. Okay, so this is called a stationary front. Lots of moisture, just sort of hanging out, not moving. Okay, so guys, how are we going to apply this? So in this map here, this is a typical weather map. You have a warm front here, you have a cold front, you have some low, and you have some high pressure, right? The L stands for low pressure, the H stands for high pressure. So today, you guys are going to be doing some predicting of weather. So you'll see maps that look just like this, and you're going to predict what the weather's like based upon what you guys know about low pressure, high pressure, cold fronts, and warm fronts. So let's take a look at Seattle really quick. So Seattle's up here. Not much going on. You don't have a front here, but you got a big H here, which stands for high pressure. So we would say high pressure. And if you guys remember from last class, high pressure is always associated with fair weather with clear skies. Denver's right here. Denver has got this big L right below it. That's low pressure. And if you guys remember from last class, low pressure is associated with cloudy, rainy weather. The reason why, remember in low pressure, the warm air is able to rise. And as it rises, it forms clouds and causes rain. Okay, next one is El Paso. El Paso down here. You have a cold front moving in this direction, moving from up here down here. So this cold front's coming in. So I would say that El Paso's got an incoming cold front, and what we can predict is that as this cold front passes through El Paso is going to experience some cooler weather, but also going to experience some violent storms. Remember that cold front usually is pretty violent storms followed by some cool air. Last one is Memphis. Memphis is over here. This warm front just passed through, right? Again, warm front moves in the direction of the half circle, so it was moving from here, and now it's moving in this direction up towards Chicago. So Memphis just had a warm front pass over it, and I would say it's probably just has experienced some warm and probably a little bit of rainy weather, warmer, rainy weather. Okay, guys, so your classwork that you guys are going to do is found on Classroom. I'm going to have you guys analyze 2 weather maps and predict the type of weather found at each listed city. So you guys are going to do things that kind of look just like this. We're going to do some stuff like this. So you're going to analyze those 2 weather maps and predict the type of weather found. And then you're going to create your own weather map using this really cool interactive tool that I've posted. After you have put in the required weather symbols, predict the weather for the 3 states based upon the symbols you've just placed. So let's take a look really quick at that homework. Okay, so your homework, ladies and gentlemen, will look like this. So the first part, you're going to look at this map, and so you got some cold fronts, you got some warm fronts, low pressure, high pressure. I want you guys to predict the weather for Minneapolis and Atlanta. Minneapolis is up here, Atlanta's down here. Again, make sure you guys know which direction these fronts are moving. So give me some predictions and some rationale. The second map, pretty simple. You got Atlanta, Dallas, and Boise. So you're figuring out Dallas and Boise. So high pressure around Dallas, low pressure around Boise. What's the weather going to be like, and what rationale do you have? Last one, you're going to open up this weather map creation. So open up this website, and you're going to see something like this. This is pretty cool, guys. So in this, I have a couple things for you. It says, open the website listed here. You'll be creating your own weather map by inserting fronts and pressure symbols. You will then snip this picture into the space below and predict the weather for 3 states. So what you guys need to do, you need to include these 4 things: a high pressure symbol, a low pressure symbol, 1 warm front, and 1 cold front. Let me show you guys how you do this. So on this map, you can use these symbols up top to pull some things in. So let's say I want to do a cold front. Cold front, I'm going to rotate it like this, and I can make it bigger using this button. Okay, I'm going to put in a warm front down here. I need to put in a high pressure, and I need to put in a low pressure somewhere. So you need to put, ladies and gentlemen, these 4 things in here somewhere. Make your map look kind of cool. You can make things bigger, you can make things smaller. Anyway, you need to have these 4 symbols in your weather map. And when you do that, when you're all done, you guys are going to use the snipping tool. The snipping tool is down here. Looks like this. You're going to use a new snip, and you're going to snip this entire map like so. Actually, we're going to snip just this map here. You'll snip, you'll copy, press this as the copy button, and then you will paste that into your box here. So copy and paste your snipped weather map, and then you're going to analyze 3 states. So for example, I could do Nebraska here, I could do Colorado, I could do Wisconsin, I could do Nevada. So analyze 3 states. What's the weather going to be like based upon the symbols that you've placed in here? Okay, and then give me some rationale. Why'd you say what you said? Okay, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, if you have any questions, come see me or rewatch the video.